So a CSO, or a combined sewer overflow, is basically a relic of the way cities were built starting back in the 1800s. So in that era, where when we were designing sewage systems, there was really no treatment of sewage in that time. So sewage was put into the same pipe as stormwater. So water that was collecting on the surface of our cities was put into the same system where the sewage from our buildings and other industries came from. At this point now, we have wastewater treatment facilities that are designed to collect and treat that sewage. So we now treat the sewage in cities that have a separate sewage system that mostly works okay. But some of our older cities like Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport have the combined sewer system still, and those sewage treatment plants can handle that sewage when it's not raining.
When it rains, instead of having to deal with two separate pipes and all of this extra rainfall and flow, the stormwater system then combines with the sewer system. And that sewer system, instead of going to a water treatment plant, would then go into the nearest outfall it could find.
Wethersfield Cove historically had a lot of issues with CSO problems. First of all, if you look at the structure of it, it has a very narrow entrance where water, when the river, the levels will go up and down, the river is always flowing downstream through there. So there's very little flushing that takes place because of that narrow entrance, and then the cove itself is a fairly large body of water. So that lack of flushing is a bit of a problem there.
So generally, exposure to sewage can be really dangerous. You think of the E. coli, the different bacteria and viruses that we shed in our sewage. If you come in contact with that, that can then enter your body. You can get very sick with gastrointestinal illnesses. Any, bathing water that you're swimming in can present itself in respiratory illnesses due to the bacteria in it.
There are homes in that area that were very prone to flooding during CSO events, even with small amounts of rain, like a half an inch of rain. People's basements were backing up with sewage.
The rainfall that we're receiving during the summer months, especially in the Northeast, is so heavy. And it's happening really at inconsistent periods of time, very short periods of time. It's very intense rainfall. That has a lot to do with climate change and the way that our atmosphere is changing and reacting to higher temperatures and more carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. But because we are seeing such heavy, intense rainfall during these summer months, we are seeing more closures and advisories put up.
So the health of the river could refer to a few different things, right? So we're looking at, is the river healthy and safe enough for humans to enjoy it, right? Is it healthy and safe enough for swimming or boating? We're also looking at sort of environmental health too, right? So we're looking at the impacts of pollution, whether that's litter or microplastics or things like excessive nutrients. All of those things can impact the health of the river and its ecosystem. The Connecticut River impacts, this entire Connecticut River watershed and the communities that live in it, right? I live and work in Middletown, Connecticut, which is right up against the Connecticut River. So, the health of the river really impacts, people who like to use it recreationally, like fishermen, people who might row, people who paddle, people who swim in it, and people who just like to enjoy it, right? We want to have a healthy river to make sure that folks can enjoy the use of our natural resources.
I did learn from an MDC or former MDC employee that there were some issues with the CSO valves in that overflow point there. There was one that was like stuck open that they had to repair. So that place had a lot of problems for a number of years. I think some of those issues have been addressed. So I think the CSO issue in Wethersfield Cove is not as bad as it used to be.
Wethersfield Cove used to be a lot dirtier of a place. Like I mentioned, things historically, especially before the Clean Water Act, before we really cleaned things up, things just were so much more polluted, right? Not just sewage, but things like PCBs, heavy metals, stuff like that. And so I find when I talk to folks from Wethersfield Cove that there's this perception that the cove is just dirty, it's unsafe to be in. And yet we do weekly water testing there. And in general, it is safe enough for both swimming and boating. It tests, in the blue, which is great.
even as a single person, there's a lot that you can do on your own to help combat stormwater pollution. And there are little actions that you can take that make a big difference. So making sure that you're, watching your fertilizer application, making sure that you're picking up your dog poop, you're disposing of it properly, looking for different ways that you can disconnect your own, your gutters, and making sure that your gutters actually drain into your lawn and into your garden rather than on your driveway. So there's a lot that we can do individually. It doesn't have to be completely redoing the entire sewer system just on its own.